This is a detailed walkthrough of Robotics Battleship.
Whoever starts inside of the blue divider is going to start as the sender, and whoever is not is going to start as the receiver. The sender is going to start by placing the 5 screws or more, depending on your round, into the base plate. Success. The receiver is now going to wait for the sender to give the verbal instructions or the algorithm, which is specific step-by-step instructions. The receiver is going to have their screws ready to place in the base plate, and both teams are going to have their document open, ready to record the process in the Battleship rubric. Both players should have a photo of the base plate. To do that, you're going to tap in the photo of base plate. After tapping and you see the blinker, you're going to go up to Insert. You're going to click on Camera. The receiver should have a photo of their blank base plate, and we should crop that with the little tool over here to make sure that we only have the base plate in the photo. Select the edges, then hit Done, and then we can click Done again. What you might notice is the lighting needs to be a little better, so we can go ahead and take that photo better in better lighting. New photo with better lighting, a better canvas to work on. Then we insert it in, and we have our photo of the base plate. The sender should have the same photo, except all the screws should actually be in the photo. As the receiver, as you get ready to play, zoom into maximum on your document, label the steps, and get ready to write down what your sender told you. So let's pretend the sender told me to move my hand to the top left of the base plate, count down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, move over 3, 1, 2, 3, and place the screw in this peg over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write those steps over here
In as few steps as possible.
So I record what I thought that they told me to say, and now I'm going to document this on my photo. So I zoomed in, said I started on the top left, then I kind of showed that I went down 4, and I showed that I went to the right 3, and then showed where I placed the screw in the same spot as over here. Notice how it's a little hard to see green, so maybe you want to replace that with a color that's easier to see, like white on this picture. The sender then tells me, count 2 to the right and place another screw. Then I count 2 to the right, place another screw. Now something to be important is counting 2 to the right, they may have wanted me to put it in the peg 1 to the left or the one that's there. I'm not sure, so maybe I asked them a question. When you said 2 to the left, did you want me to put the peg 2 to the left inside it or count 2 to the left and then put the peg in? Once I get that clarification, I go over to my log, I start writing, count 2 to the left, then place the screw in. Then I go over to my diagram and I'm going to draw that too. I showed that I counted 2 to the left and then I placed the screw in, and it should be in that peg. That way it shows the same over here as it does over here.
Now, one thing you might be thinking is 2 to the left, you're going 2 to the right. Well, beforehand we may have had a talk where his left is my right. You have to kind of make sure you're going to the same page, because if we were to lift this up, our directions aren't exactly the same. So be aware of that and try and take that into consideration.
Once we finish all steps, we're going to lift the divider up and we're going to compare our base plates to see if we put it in the right spot. After comparing the spots to see if we got it in the right spot, we're going to go to our logs and we're going to compare our instructions to try and find where either a mistake happened or why we were able to do it the same way. So we compare log to log and we say to ourselves, oh, our directions must have been off, or the reason we succeeded was because we were both able to clearly convey the message. Finally, after you do the instructions over here, you're going to write a quick reflection explaining, we failed on this attempt because the screws did not meet up. In step number 2, we caught the mistake because we wrote different things and interpreted each other differently. We're going to talk about the mistake and then try again to fix that to make sure it doesn't happen. So it's where you reflect on how it went. If you succeeded, you can talk about why you succeeded on your language and how you're able to understand it. So as of right now, you've been looking at the log of the receiver, but the person who's sending the information with all of the screws should also be trying to draw the place in which the next screw goes to try and figure out how to send that information to the other person. So if you're explaining move to the top left, you want to write that too. So you're going to record exactly what you're going to say to your partner. That way at the end you have that chance to compare and then to reflect on the log.
Finally, at the end of the period, you guys are going to use the rubric below to self-assess across all your attempts how you did that day.
So on your final try, you're going to grade yourself, for example, on accuracy. If you had no mistakes and placed the screws in the right spot and everything was good, then you can grade yourself a 2, even if you failed before. So it's based on your best attempt that day. If you feel like you succeeded, but you felt like you could do better, maybe you give yourself a 1 for least number of steps given. For note-taking, if you were able to successfully document the picture, annotate it, your instructions, and reflection, you can give yourself a 2. If not, give yourself a 1 or a 0 for your best attempt. And finally, were you able to reflect and do your best and talk about your partner? If so, give yourself a 2. If not, give